ASEAN Breakfast Call. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
This is Gowri.
And this is Grace.
And we're back on our ASEAN Breakfast Call news commentary. And
That's
today
correct.
is a Monday.
Today's Monday, and how are you, Gowri?
I'm doing actually not too well. Been feeling kind of feverish since last night, so hopefully I feel better today.
Oh dear, I heard from my friends that they almost got dengue. And then I hope it's not the case for you because the virus is going around, and then you better really take care of yourselves.
But I'm pretty positive. I don't think it's dengue. It's probably just the weather and been having like a little headache as well. I'm in denial. How are you? How was your weekend?
Well, over the weekend I was very, very busy. And one of the most happening things that happened during the weekend was the band competition. There's this band competition called Global Battle of the Band, and this is the second season. And I was just wanted to help one of my friends' band. So we passed the audition, but unfortunately we couldn't make it to the final because whoever could make it to the final, they could actually travel to Norway.
Norway.
And then they get to compete against the many other bands from international region, and then they'll be competing in Oslo in Norway. So it's actually really good opportunities for everyone to be able to meet each other and then also experience what kind of music they play. And then all those selected bands from Malaysia, they're all rock and also metal bands.
Oh, okay. That sounds very exciting though, to go actually all the way to Norway and to get that international exposure, which we kind of lack in the Malaysian
it's
music
a good
industry.
platform for indie bands and also music band in Malaysia who were really waiting and anticipating to expose themselves to the music industry. And other than that, I actually dreamt of a very weird it was very weird because I read the news about Indonesia tsunami warning,
Right.
and then I actually dreamed of it. And then it was
You
really
must have
scary.
been really scared that
I was
it just
really
went
scared.
into your head.
Yes, and the tsunami is not new to all of us. And when I read about it, I was like, oh my God, please don't come to Malaysia, and then don't just put on the same incident again to many people.
And speaking of Indonesia, also talking about maritime, but not tsunami, so don't worry,
Yes, not
Grace.
going that far.
We are, the issue here is actually more towards the maritime and coast defense, where Indonesia is actually thinking of spending more money on creating a new coast guard, because that will boost the defense of their country.
That's correct. Indonesia will launch a new coast guard probably next month to crack down the privacy and the smuggling, which can disrupt the commerce in the Southeast Asia's biggest economy.
It's very vulnerable because if you look at Europe, most of the countries are landlocked. It's only a few countries that's on the coastal area. But if you look at Asia, most of us are very, very much exposed to the coastal areas, and it's very easy, especially if you look at Malaysia. It's easy to get attacked from all directions.
That's
because
correct.
We're very exposed, and it's the same thing with Indonesia as well. Although they're a lot bigger than us, we share the same straits as well, and it is a very tricky thing, and it should be addressed because, like you mentioned, it can disrupt the entire economy, especially with Indonesia having one of the largest populations over here.
And also with that, the new President Joko Widodo, it's one of his a plan to push to reassure investors at a time when the economy is growing at its slowest in 5 years, and also it's strained by the twin trade and the current account deficits.
And they have already so many agencies that's actually in charge of this coastal safety, of securing the seas. But according to Tejo Edi Puriniato, who is the Chief Security Minister, he said that they have not been very effective in trying to do their job. So which is why the government actually has to step in now, increase the budget allocation for this matter, because it's something that they want to address right away. Especially, like I mentioned earlier, we share the Malacca Straits with them, and it's a global trade corridor. Even if you trace back to our history, that straits has always been the place for merchants and traders from all over the world to come in and start businesses here and all. So
definitely it's got to do with the security system in the country
and
itself.
yeah, if there's piracy attack, they will not feel safe to come over here, and the ships will probably not dock in the Malacca Straits, and that will only affect badly for us.
And then furthermore, they will definitely tackle illegal fishing and human trafficking, as well as, like we mentioned, it will secure the maritime borders as well. But it will initially borrow personnel and the vessels from the military with the aim of being fully independent in a year, and also decline. This Indonesia, this country, exploring our archipelago, it's a set of beef up to its defense, especially its navy and air force.
And speaking of human trafficking and illegal fishing, that is also another huge problem that's been happening in the Straits, and it affects the relationship between Indonesia and Malaysia in that sense. Especially, we know a lot of people from Indonesia, a lot of workers who try to come over, but they probably don't have enough money to get flight tickets or to do it the legal way.
Some are actually come here illegally.
Yeah, so they get onto the boats and they come over, and it's of course not safe because the boats are really, really small because they're trying to hide from the police, and then they have to crawl through the mud and go through all that. So with this increase in the coast guards and to come up with a whole new system, it will definitely spill over and kind of curb
also
that
improve
problem.
the security as well.
And Indonesia is, of course, a sprawling archipelago, and they have hundreds of islands, actually. Of course, we only know the main ones, but they actually have a lot more. And this spending also actually came in light of the new the territorial claims in South China Sea between China, Philippines, Vietnam. So this is also kind of to prepare themselves for any impending conflict that may occur in the region. And another country that also the people are not being treated that well is Laos, where the Christians are being forcefully evicted from their villages.
That's correct. I mean, these people from Laos, the 6 families consisting of around 25 people, they were made to leave their homes and in province of in Laos because they would not revert to animism as practiced by the majority of residents in their Kohai village. And after they converted to Christianity, the local authorities became unhappy and ordered them to revert back to animism, which is really forceful because the belief and it also relates to human rights.
It is also kind of interesting if you were to look at it because they are actually Christians, but they are being forced to revert to animism.
Yep.
And animism is, of course, one of the oldest way of life. The people from thousands, millions of years ago, they practiced animism, praying to the rocks, the trees, because they believed in the power of nature, the rain, the sun. But then, of course, things changed. There was the evolution that happened, and then now, actually, the majority of the people in Laos are actually Buddhist, and they also have Christians, of course.
Yep.
And it seems that to revert back to animism is something that is important to them, and they were even detained for refusing to renounce their religion, which is Christianity.
Because it also affects their culture, their society, how they were supposed to be crafted. But then by being forced to convert into something which they don't believe in, it's I will say it's unethical in this sense.
And the Lao Constitution actually provides freedom of religion for people in the entire country, of course. And the state is not playing a very active role in trying to manage these countries.
Actually, the government or governors, they are not really aware of these issues. It's just the authorities in the certain villages, they just force them, the people, to convert from Christianity to animism or what kind of the religion they want them to convert to.
That's right. The state actually should play a more active role in trying to intervene and to to remind people, hey, the Constitution provides freedom of religion, so no one actually really has to revert back to animism. It's of course their own decision when it comes to what religion they want to have. But then again, the reason this is happening is because Christians are actually they're probably the smallest minority in this Buddhist majority country, which is one of the reasons why this can happen and people can overlook it, because they are just a small tiny community in a big place.
Something came in my mind while we were commenting on this news, because yesterday I was listening to this a CNN news, and they were announcing about this Zambia country that actually announced the country as a Christian country right now, and then the whole system has changed in structure. It will adapt to according to the Christian way, so-called, and then there are like minorities there. They were actually complaining about the new system, but then in this case, back to Laos here, it's happening the other way around. Yeah, people are forced to convert, and without the consent of people.
And this actually, they are also known as the Hmong minority. And it seems that the Lao authorities have actually been wary of the opposition among this Hmong, and many of whom who say that they actually face prosecution from the government because of their Vietnam War era ties with the United States. So this actually goes back a very long time in history. But also, the outspoken opponent of the Lao government immigrated to the United States after communists seized power in the country in 1975. And this is, of course, to give a little historical background.
And also in some provinces in Laos, local authorities are suspicious of non-Buddhist religious groups, and also sometimes minority groups. So they refuse to participate in Buddhist or animist religious ceremonies to produce tension, and also in local communities.
And in March, they actually had 6 Christian families who were evicted from the villages because they did not renounce their faith. And local authorities said the families actually left on their own accord. So
this is a wrong report.
It's a very conflicting report. But whatever it is, the government should step in and do something about this, because this goes back to the rights of the people. If you want to promise the people the freedom of religion, you have to make sure to follow through and make sure that everybody in the country have the right to practice whatever religion that they want to. And there shouldn't be a majority group pressuring them and threatening them even that, if you don't convert to this, you have to leave the village, and all these little things.
Well, it could be just a small, teeny, tiny, minor issue in Laos, but however, it's already been happening, and then the government should look into and then take to the consideration to look into these issues further, because it looks like the governor and the higher authorities, they are not really aware of these issues going around.
Especially because we are heading towards ASEAN 2015, and we want, of course, every country to get on board and to practice whatever that they have promised to the people. And let's move on to China now, who is fostering a very good relationship with Myanmar.
And then China and Myanmar, they actually did sign the host of deals ranging from trade, agriculture, to energy cooperation. These two ASEAN neighbors vowed to elevate their comprehensive strategic cooperation partnership by having the friendly friendship building up between them.
And they are actually sharing more common interests in terms of development, in terms of security, and the two sides actually agreed in a joint statement. And China is very ready in this case to work with Myanmar and also to advance the construction of Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar economic corridor. And this is to promote the connectivity between the countries and also for social and economic developments in Myanmar. So these two countries are also in talks to conduct operation on large-scale projects. And the Chinese seems to be very supportive of whatever Myanmar has suggested so far in terms of social, economic, infrastructure construction, and they want both parties to benefit from this bilateral cooperation.
Definitely. Now, China, the country itself is sorry, gigantic country in terms of economy, populations, and the culture itself. And then when they actually look at Myanmar, it's got so much potential after the government officially opened their ways for investors to come in. So the China is also has seen the potential in this country in Myanmar. So they are trying to build up the relationship with Myanmar for the improvement.
And like you mentioned, China is a very, very huge country, and they have tremendous economic power. It's actually one of the emerging superpower, and people always compare China to the United States, and how strong it is and what a bright future it has. And for China to step in and help Myanmar is a very good move for both sides. China does have a lot to offer, especially in terms of human capital, and Myanmar also the same. They have a huge amount of working class that are looking for job opportunities, and for these two countries to actually come in, because we know that Myanmar is not as forward as China in a lot of ways, and probably China also lacks certain things that Myanmar has. So for these two countries to come together, and they can kind of reciprocate and offer each other what they're missing and head forward from there.
And then also, in addition to that, Myanmar, it's a very important country next year because it holds the chair of the ASEAN summit. And then it's really important investment destination for, of course, Chinese companies to come in.
And official data actually shows that bilateral trade reached up to 10.15 billion US dollars in 2015, and it's set to increase every year annually. And this can also affect Myanmar in a very positive way. And they are calling China a very reliable friend, a neighbor, and a partner of Myanmar.
That's very positive comments coming from Myanmar, China. Yeah.
Especially after the Premier Lee's successful visit to Myanmar, where he spoke to the president. And it seems that the parliament will continue back to enhance these bilateral ties between the two countries and work things from there.
Yep.
So Lee actually arrived there on Wednesday to visit an official visit to Myanmar, and he's got back to China. But it's good that his trip was very fruitful.
Yes.
And another country that's also stepping in to help another country, in this case, is Singapore and India, where Singapore is stepping in to help India develop 100 smart cities, says their minister.
Well, 100 smart cities. So, what does that mean? I mean, Singapore is ready to help India in developing its cities. And India, well, next to China, is another gigantic country in terms of populations, economics as well. So, Singapore, which is actually a very small, tiny country, but it's very strong by itself.
Very strong,
economically.
very forward.
Yeah. So it's helping India, including capital New Delhi, and then, but it can only provide a vision whose implementation depends on the people and the leadership of the country.
So Singapore is trying to offer help. Prime Minister Narendra Modi actually plans to develop 100 smart cities in India, and he said that Singapore is actually a very good model to look at. They have a successful framework. Like you mentioned, it's a very small country, even way smaller than Malaysia. It's probably only as big as one little state.
Yep.
But they managed to make it work. They adopted a successful model, they worked through it, and they became successful, and they are doing very well economically in this region. You know, everyone goes to Singapore when they want opportunities. They have no trouble attracting investors. So they are trying to help with the Prime Minister Modi's plan to develop 100 smart cities now.
Actually, Singapore is could be a good example for many areas in terms of economy, culture, and also society, and also when it comes to human rights as well. And then with this good basic planning, everything else fall into place for automatically, of course. So India is looking into this potential examples from Singapore, and then when people in the government are determined to implement, it will happen.
But Singapore side has also said that they have no doubt that India can actually thrive like China, of course, with a huge amount of population, close to 6 billion. They can also help India in a lot of ways that where it lacks the most. And with good basic planning, everything will hopefully fall into place, especially when the people and the government are together ready to work together and implement it.
But
But
one of a comment that was mentioned from Singapore side was they can't really help India, but India can help itself. They can only provide vision, and then it's always up to the government and also the people in the country how they implement and execute the plans.
well, I've never been to India, but I've read a lot of articles and also seen quite a number of movies. And I think movies are actually a good way to know what's happening in a certain country. So if we were to talk about India, there's actually a lot of problems that they're facing, especially in terms of transportation, the condition of the roads, their public transport, where there is no proper system. And that's why we also had the case where there was one girl who was raped by nearly 10 guys because that was supposed to be a public bus, but it was not run by the right people, so to speak. And also corruption is a major problem there, education. So there's like you mentioned, of course, Singapore can try its best to help, but at the end of the day, it goes back to the mindset of the people in India on whether or not they are ready to step up and make the necessary change.
But definitely in this case, Singapore has had fantastic relationship between Singapore and India so far,
And they seem
also
quite positive.
positive about the India's democratic structure as well. And it is important to figure out how for whom you are building these cities for, and then what are their needs, and also they have to find the proposal on the table, and then they have to discuss to make a good decision on this.
So hopefully with the new Prime Minister Modi now, India can step up its game and move forward, and we are looking forward to see what are the changes that they can come up with.
And also more positive news from the relationship between Singapore and India.
And now we have the ASEAN Economic Community, of course, where the CIMB boss has said that divorce should be hard in the AEC framework. And of course, we're not talking about a marital divorce here. This comment came after he said that the framework should, of course, be strengthened to ensure that the members do not easily opt out of the grouping. So it's, when you tell people about AEC, people are interested and all these corporations and organizations come in. But if there is no proper structure, there's no proper framework, it's easy for them to just opt out and just pull away at the last minute, and this will not work out well for us.
This is
in
one
the
of
region.
the concerns when it comes to AAC agreement, and also it is also quite evident to say that AAC should allow the investors from one country to enter another, and also companies should be able to tap the capital markets across ASEAN. But then the main concern is the AAC ties were too loose, and it will be too easy for countries to opt out.
And one example given here is a common set of documents has actually been introduced for all these companies and also for potential investors in the region. And this is to facilitate the cross-border fundraising for business within the region. And apart from that, under the framework, the fund managers operating in a member jurisdiction are also allowed to offer CIS such as unit trust funds to retail investors in other countries. So they are really looking at setting up the ASEAN body to make it an entrusted body of financial and capital market integration, because once we all have an integration, we have a tremendous amount of capital to offer, and also the government, each country is going to start growing in its own ways, and they said there should be the emphasis here should be placed on strengthening the interface between the capital market and the real economy.
And also the priority when it comes to AEC needs to be set up set up the supranational ASEAN body, probably at the ASEAN Secretariat, and also entrusted with the financial and the capital market integration, who then independently engage governments and regulators as well.
So, Grace, we have like one more month to go before it's 2015, and we look forward, of course, to 2015 and also beyond that. And Malaysia will also be the host of the ASEAN Summit in 2015. So, we're very excited for that.
Personally, I actually look forward to see some improvement and changes for the country, Malaysia itself, as well as the relationship that Malaysia can build with our neighboring countries.
And that's all the time that we have for this morning. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And also don't forget to download our TuneIn app and find us at Durian ASEAN.
And this is Gowri.
And this is Grace.
We will see you later for our Blast from the Grassroots session.